The appearance of a vagabond has made the whole Korean political world feel like sitting on a pile because of his true identity as a top Korean agent. A year ago, he received the task of dismantling the line of selling apricots. After killing a few guards, they took their cards to confirm the identity of the enemy and then looked forward to destroying a large number of My Tuesday worth tens of billions of troops. After completing the task, they sat down. How much money can you make by selling it? You're sorry, I'm just asking. Returning to apply for a promotion before the salary increase, the company will definitely be transferred to a better department. I thought the mission was completed smoothly, but a few days later, my teammates who participated in the mission with him were murdered one after another. The man also disappeared. Everyone thought he was in distress. A year later, on a human trafficking ship, a man looked out of a corner and a little girl handed him her scarf. At this time, a few cornered men entered and they beat her father badly and took her away. The rest of the people were scared and did not dare to resist like they did now. When the police were present on the whole ship like hell on earth, after the man surrendered, the new police jumped out. This is the top agent in Korea. Han is bloody, and the organization immediately takes him to the headquarters. And although he was tortured on his body, his health was still normal. The blood task detected 10 types of chemicals that would reduce his memory, which was purposeful. The memories of the past year have completely disappeared, even causing him to appear aggressive behavior. Fortunately, at that time, someone stopped him. Even though he was mentally unstable, the official still let him return to the headquarters. But he still found that someone was watching him, and after he went home and saw the rosary on his body, he didn't remember what had happened. At this time, his phone rang, and the caller was Seo Soo-jian, and then Seo Soo-jian came to see him. At this time, shattered memories began to appear in his bloody mind. Jiang was quick about the murder of his comrades. He found that his comrades had no signs of resistance. It also means that they were sneaked in. He was determined to find the person behind it, and then he went to the gym. After his health returned to normal, he decided to go to the place where his comrade was murdered to investigate. But on the way he found someone following him, then he immediately cut off the tail of the police following him. When he was blocked by customs, he decisively took action to deal with the enemy. Like when he went to get on the train, he found that someone had been waiting for him for a long time, and the other party is the director who brought him into the profession. Director Jiang advised him not to act on his own and agreed to let him investigate the case of a year ago. After returning home, he saw him flashing in the opposite building. He quickly found out that this was a secret card and followed the suggestion to find a USB. And the information inside is left by himself. Now he was suspicious of all the people around him. Chiyu Blood hired someone to find the documents about the case 2 years ago, because this is the beginning of everything. That year, Captain Kim investigated a criminal organization called Onjang. But every time you find an important clue, a new obstacle appears. He suspected that behind the bombardment there was a big force against wages, but this time there was a very different feeling. Sure enough, not long after, Captain Kim was murdered. The director was even more suspicious of the agent's information, and he was also asked to be in charge of this case. This mission is named after the deceased Captain Kim, the Brown Bucket Project. Bloody finds Captain Kim's contact person, Chun Hyu. Hearing that now Bang Bujin is in a place where the wind blows, he finds out who is the core. With the help of the enemy, they succeeded in destroying tens of billions of troops worth. But before they could delve into the investigation, the companion was murdered. The memory of the blood was gone, and he couldn't remember who the person standing outside to help the podium was. He pays attention to the key figure of the Bujin state, Jang Wangchun. At this time, the other party has come to Korea to expand the area of buying and selling his roof. The local sects were all destroyed by him, and they were so blatant that they were targeted by the police. Very quickly, Jang Wangchun was caught by the police, but he did not panic. Before leaving, he also made a sign with his juniors, and the police received a threatening phone call to release Jang Wangchun. And if they don't follow them, they will kill the police, and the relevant levels will hold an emergency meeting. Since a police officer was brutally murdered, they attacked a police officer who then murdered him. And Jang Wangchun refused to falsify information at this time. Blood said that if they dare to study Jang Wangchun like that, it is very likely that because he keeps important information in his hands every year, he takes the initiative to interrogate. As soon as he entered, he gave Jang Wangchun a dark battle and then began to interrogate. Then look at the tattoo of Jang Wangchun analyzing his past. June talks about an unfortunate childhood that makes Jang Wangchun angry, but in return it is a blow. At this time, Jang Wangchun also opened his mouth to tell the story of revenge. He couldn't find out what he was doing, so he just turned his investigation to driving an abandoned car to buy June. He asked the other party if he had ever heard Jang Wangchun tell the story of revenge. But the other party was also just a hired driver, not knowing what was going on with the gang. If you can remember something, call me. When he was about to leave the police station, a group of people rushed to demand a confession. He didn't think much about it, and on the way home, Jays called him. Because when I was trying to fix Jiang Wangchun's phone, I found a photo of him. It also means that the other party has already mistaken him. And the self-confessed criminal at the police station at this time suddenly rioted. After that, several trucks rushed in, and the gang sent them back to the car. Very quickly, Jiang Wangchun was released. He bowed in front of a cell. It turned out that their big man was actually that wild driver. He put on a gold press watch and began to reproach Jiang Wangchun many words. Revealing his revenge, he then eliminated Jiang Wangchun. On the side, he searched the case file and found a wolf tattoo. This was the target he had destroyed, and there was a similar tattoo on his body. Remembering the story of revenge erosion, he immediately understood everything. It turns out that Huang Mo Xian is the real worm of the Wuzhong state. Blood immediately turned the car around and went to the police station. On the way, he saw with his own eyes a wild ant passing by him. He immediately drove after him, looking at the blood alone. He just stared at the other party and ran away. When he returned to the police station, it was like a battlefield. In addition to the camera investigation, the blood not only saw the whole thing happening at the police station, but he also met a person who made him eager. That was Chun Hu. At this time, the memory in his head appeared. Before he lost his memory, the person he saw was Chun Hu. Could it be that he was the one who stood at the table? When the memories kept appearing, the blood was also gone. He woke up in the hospital, his head hurting like a charm. He decided to find the matchmaker from Chun Hu's place. He once said that when the mission was over, he could have a peaceful life with him. After that, he went to JJ and asked her to help him find Chun Hu something. After that, he went to a woman to find out information about the state of Wuzhong. You know the Wuzhong state, right? The other party told him 6 months ago that Wuzhong state was dealt with by the government for trading in Tuesday roofs. Now he is cornered and runs to Korea. But behind Bang Wuzhong, there was also a man named Baek Mosa who made the whole plan. With one hand, he held the line of trading in 2A roofs, smuggling weapons. In addition, no one knows the true identity of Baek Mosa. At the same time, JJ also found something from Chun Hu. Knowing after Chun Hu talked on the phone with the other party, they relied on signal positioning. Around the area is Chun Hu in an abandoned cabin in the suburbs. Chi Hu immediately came here. Chun Hu saw that he was going to give him a fight. I didn't expect him to eat so easily, and he single-handedly knocked out a bunch of people. Chun Hu saw that it was not a matter of running a bull, but while running, he was hit by JJ and fell to the ground. Chi Hu immediately ran over and didn't play with him. Is the emperor a traitor who is busy with them? But Chun Hu said that he came to tell him the news. Because at that time Wang Mosen received his position and was on his way there. Listen, you have to leave here immediately. Since there were only a few people in this base they knew, it also means that someone must have leaked intelligence. This was also the last time they met. Chi Hu was too surprised. There was a police car horn outside at this time. Chi Hu took Chun Hu to go first. On the way, Chun Hu said to Chi Hu, Huang Mosen is taking advantage of delivery conditions to transport snow roofs across the country. This is still nothing because very quickly a larger number of goods are shipped in. It is said that that number is enough to destroy a country. When Chi Hu asked Chun Hu after he had an affair, why don't you call me to tell me it's time to go urgently? He sighed but didn't say much. After that, he realized that when Chun Hu didn't notice, he jumped out of the car and ran away. And he also left an envelope. Inside is all the transportation information of the condition in front of the snow roof. In addition, there was a strange sequence of numbers on the outside of the envelope. Chi Hu came to JG and asked her to investigate what this series of numbers meant. Okay, after that, Chi Hu went to Director Kong. Why is this in the hands of the plane light? Besides, what are you and the Patriarch doing? He was just being taken advantage of. The person with the right to manage is me. After that, Chi Hu handed the entire envelope to Director Kong. It also helps the opponents set KPIs. At the same time, he also made a request. That is to give myself a certain 2 days to catch Kwang Mo Sun. After returning home, Chi Hu looked at the brother of 2 deceased associates. He tried to recall because Zhong Gil talked about him and he was definitely among them. But the 2 of them were murdered one after another, making Chi Hu extremely confused. On this side, JG was still trying to figure out what that sequence of numbers meant. Then he came across a slippery coin to find Hu. Everyone is out. I am the Zio captain of the headquarters. Don't you go to work today? As his former partner, I would like to advise you. Don't get too close to him, there won't be a good ending. Finally, JG discovered that it was the number sequence of the container. The import-export company also said that the container had arrived at the port. She immediately told this news to Hugh, then the two people went to the port to investigate. He told me to stay in the car and wait for the order, and I went to find the container. At this time, a convoy entered the harbor, and immediately notified the Hugh branch to withdraw. But he didn't leave immediately but also opened the container to go inside. He carefully went inside to check and found a skinny old man chained in one place. At this time, there was a cry for help from the middle gill outside. When Chi Hugh went out to find that the people of the Wild Jiang gang were already there, and the identity of the middle gill's insider was also discovered. In order to save Zongil, Chi Hugh only surrendered his weapon. After that, the spring lip came over, he put the gun on Hugh's head, but he couldn't get the gun right away but knocked him unconscious. When he woke up, he was taken to a hotel room. Because the son of Huang Lip Xian was killed by Chi Hugh, he would slowly torture him. "You don't seem to be afraid of me, are you?" Huang Lip Xian helped put the electric wire in Hugh's mouth and then covered it with tape. After plugging in, he immediately fainted. When he woke up, the Spring Emperor plugged the navigation device on his body and taunted him. But he didn't panic because everything was in his plan. Actually, from the beginning, Chi Hugh turned off the navigation device and then bent down to be arrested. It is to let the Spring Lips lose their vigilance, thereby saying more information. Under the provocation of Chi Hugh, Huang Xian let his juniors open the door of the next room. And inside is the place where the roof is made. The old man in the container was his lost weapon. The tattoo on the opponent's body is the latest formula for creating a Tuesday. Not only does it shorten the manufacturing time, but it also does not release an eye-catching smell. Only then did the Spring Emperor quickly become the notorious Korean crown tycoon. Looking at his satisfied figure, Chi Hugh continued to search for information. He said that he was just a liar, the person behind everything who controlled everything was wrong. And his murdered partner must have been caused by a distant tissue carrier. As soon as Chi Hugh finished speaking, he explained that he was also attentively touched. Huang Lishuan was also provoked. He said that Chi Hugh's partner was handed over to weld the door. But the truth is that his partner was hit by a bullet and died. After Chi Hugh was beaten in a sloppy manner and then squeezed into the bathroom, he then pulled out the navigation device. This is also JJ's action signal. He also hurriedly went to call for help, but at this moment Huang Xian's phone rang. The caller is a distant tissue, and the welding also becomes tense. At the same time, a junior discovered Hugh's navigation device. He also began to attack. The opponent had no ability to respond. The juniors outside heard the noise, but Chi Hugh had now escaped from the ropes. Faced the enemy with a weapon. Chi Hugh was extremely calm and then launched a bloody killing stunt. At the same time, the Spring Emperor ran away, and Chi Hugh found his dying love in addition to the attack. He said that after he went missing, he also called the phone number to inform him. But waiting for the termite to judge him, he fell in love with the jade. At this time, there was a person with a knife walking towards Hugh. My mother was able to save him in time. After that, he forced a junior to reveal the whereabouts of Huang Xian. And the juniors just looked at him and dreamed and cried. When Huang Lishuan left the hotel, a man glanced at him. When he saw the other party's face clearly, he immediately became panicked. The next day, the incident of the police dismantling the ring machine line was reported. Chi Hugh also went to the deputy minister to get his gun and official duty card back. But he did not mention the incident that occurred at the hotel. Although the deputy minister didn't ask much after he left. She opened the computer inside the image of Chi Hugh acting in the hotel. After a few seconds of thinking, she deleted the entire photo. Legend has it that this person came to find Hugh and said about him that, "What can my brother come out? That JG girl didn't seem to know anything. Don't drag the end into this." Experiencing this incident, Chi Hugh trusted him even more. He asked her why she did that. "The former is my target. I want to have power, only then can I protect the things that matter to me." After returning home, JG went into a room which was full of information about the agent. The Hugh child is also the object of her investigation. What kind of person is JG? Help? Chi Hugh turned to a colleague in the intelligence department for help. Just investigate who eavesdropped on June Do's phone. It is possible to add a matchmaker to find out the insider. But at this moment, the entire system was compromised by hackers. A year ago, the secret data team was stolen. The information that JG needed was also deleted, making the two deputy ministers extremely interested. Because the inside was all important information, the two of them kicked each other silently. If you let the opponent have a data line one step ahead, you have the ability to overwhelm the other person. Employees quickly discovered that hackers were using their internal computers to steal data. The owner of the computer was an agent for Iraq. But strangely enough, the other party had passed away a year ago. The hacker is his son, Sang Huin. He didn't believe his father was looking for death until he decided to use his own way to find out the truth. At this time, Sang Huyen received news from a mysterious person. The other party said he wanted to help him take revenge. He was afraid of being found out and immediately turned off the phone. On this side, the news, but on the fire. Deputy Minister, I let the head of the team be in charge of this. We must act first, no matter what tricks we use. Vice Minister Lee again chose a slippery coin that could be thrown away at any time. JG was also questioned because she had been a robber for Iraq. Besides, she kept in touch with Sang Huyen, but she didn't know anything about this. In order to help Sang Huyen, JG and Zhou Huyen went to his house to investigate. JG quickly discovered that he planned to hand over the data to the media. At this time, he met with reporter Kaisen. Taking advantage of the enemy's evasive gaze, he went to the district to find the subjugated agents around. After a while of pursuit, Sang Huyen was cornered by 2 agents, and Zhou Huyen suddenly appeared and knocked out the 2 agents. The agent appeared more and more, and he used the radio as a small bomb. After the incident, the supermarket immediately became chaotic. Zhou Huan also took him to the county to escape, but he also called Zhou Xian's name and asked him why he didn't fulfill his promise. At this moment, a part of salvation appeared in his mind. His head hurts like a tonic. When he woke up, Sang Huyen had lost his mind. Su Plain also came to the trick of blaming him for ruining everything. Until now, she has always confronted the trick, because her ex-boyfriend and Chiu Hitch's partner was murdered while on duty. Therefore, the slippery coin pours all the sins on the head of the trick. I say it again, don't get involved in this anymore. At the same time, Jerry received an enlightened message, and inside was a game she played with Sang Huyen. She lightly discovered that the other party was using this method to contact her. On the side, Director Kong also looked for a trick. He stood on the side of the deputy chief and said to Zhao Shi if he could find the district. It is possible to maintain a balance in intelligence. Give the 2 deputy ministers equal power, because he felt that the deputy governor was unloading them with something. The task of investigating the tooth vapor bandage that year was secretly commanded by the deputy mayor of the capital. But in the end, all his teammates were in distress. After that, all the records were kept secret, and even Director Kong couldn't find out. On this side, JG went to the restaurant, but she didn't have to play games but contacted Sang Huyen. But the other party did not answer. When JG was about to go to bed, the new district sent a message. She hurriedly made an appointment to meet the other party, and then she told this news for encouragement. But as soon as she went out, she was stopped by agents, because Sujian has been monitoring JG's phone for a long time. The nurse raped me and helped me ignite the district. But unexpectedly, the object that the district wanted to meet was a trick. The 2 people who arrived at the appointed place were all agents. But when it was time to meet, Sang Huyen did not appear, and the camera pointing at the trick suddenly changed direction. Then the game name appears on the screen and shows the time the train enters the station. Seeing this, Xiaoxi immediately took action, and JG also followed. But the agent chased after her, pushing the object in the way of the enemy. Chiu Hitch also entered the subway. He went to the district and asked what he meant by saying he didn't fulfill his promise last time. Sang Huyen also told the truth. Then he read the history of the conversation between Zhao Shi and his father. At that time, he came to Iraq to help with the investigation. The result was not so bad that Iraq died. The main investigation is who eavesdropped on Chun Gil's phone. This word made Chiu Push extremely surprised because he was also investigating this matter. But Sang Huyen said that the content of the conversation was over. Then he handed over a piece of paper asking what the English word trick on it meant. It was also the last message for Iraq to send to him. But he still didn't wait for Zhao Yi to say anything. On the subway there is a sojourn. He forced him to go to the next station to surrender, never trust the trick, because he was the perpetrator of Iraq's death. Faced with Sang Huyen's question, Zhao Hui had no answer. After the train entered the station, Sang Huyen was a little hesitant but still went out of the river. He was quickly recaptured by the agents. But this data also fell into the hands of the deputy minister. But when the technical department checks whether the data has been detected or not, the intelligence system was also compromised. As long as the preset time is reached, all data will be deleted. And everything is in the district's plan. From now on, I will turn this place upside down. He wanted to use his own way to ruin this place. Vice Minister Li wanted to negotiate terms with him. But he said, if you want to negotiate, call Zhao Hui here. At the moment when Vice Minister Li hesitated, the deputy mayor called to advise. The 2 of them settled this matter peacefully. After all, Deputy Minister Li only agreed. Very quickly, the trick was here. But he put forward a condition. That is to turn off the surveillance cameras in the interrogation room. After that, he met the district. But he still asked him what that English language meant. Zhao Shi told him a story. That year, he and Iraq also had a team leader to carry out the mission. But the Patriarch blocked the funding. As a result, they lost an important piece of intelligence. At the moment when they were arguing, a local boy came out. He went to the enemy with the eavesdropping device. But in the end, it was still discovered by the enemy. Although the boy was tortured terribly, he didn't tell them half a word. Before taking action, Zhao Shi once asked the boy why he was taking the risk. Because we have a common enemy. After the action failed, the three of them should have immediately retreated. But for Iraq, he was determined to avenge the boy. He took the gun and shouted out, and the trick did not stop him. Although they destroyed the enemy, Iraq was also seriously injured. The last boy was the boy who said we have a common enemy. After that, Zhao Hui talked about the advice. A year ago, because there was a traitor in the organization, all of his comrades were murdered. And Sang's father advised that because of investigating this matter, he also had an accident. Therefore, they all have the same enemy. But the object of their defense is not the whole organization, but the insiders hiding in it. Hearing this, the advice also said that the instruction had been deleted. At this time, he said that there was a common enemy, which was a cipher. Before leaving, Zhao Shi agreed with him he would definitely find that insider to make the other party pay a heavy price. After obtaining the cipher, the Intelligence Bureau also solved the risk. Then he went home and found that someone had broken into the house. Then he discovered a USB in the glass ball gift. Looking at the picture of the needle on the wall, he ruled out the Patriarch because he later found out that the Patriarch blocked funds to treat his seriously ill daughter that year. Although he couldn't save his daughter, the Patriarch always felt guilty for them, so he was not an insider. On this side, Susan overhears the entire conversation between Chiu Hitch and Sang Guin. Because when she left the interrogation room, she left behind the recording foam. The next day, Susan took the initiative to make an appointment to meet Zhao He. At this time, her attitude was also different. But before the two of them had time to say much, Susan received a phone call. Then Zhao Hui saw their general photo first. There was also a photo of the resort on the table. Susan's boyfriend once said the place had their best memories. At this time, Sang Guin called and came out to Iraq. At that time, he found the person who tapped Chuan Gil's phone. Her name was Susan. Shocked to the point of fainting, Susan went to ask the 5 people he had put against the wall because the other party was very likely to be an insider. Although Susan did not admit it, he completely lost control. Another thing, Zhao Hui woke up in the infirmary. He hurriedly took out the gun to check and found that the bullet was still intact, so he was relieved. He asked the doctor why the bottle was here. The doctor said he fainted in Susan's office, then was brought here by other co-workers. And Susan was also attacked by him and injured. For a moment, the trick is not clear between reality and paranoia. And the doctor seemed to understand his condition very well. The other party advised him to treat him quickly, otherwise it would be more serious. But Zhao Hui didn't listen, and then Director Kong came to him again. After learning that he was attacking, Susan immediately let him stop for a while, but he did not agree. And also asked him why he had such a harsh reaction to this case. He had already crossed the limit. I have no intention of giving up. Go out. Zhao Shi left angrily, and he had just gone out when he met Susan coming over. The other party not only did not blame the trick, but also cared about his health. When Zhao Shi calmed down, he didn't say anything but remembered what Chunhu had said. I called his phone number. The person who came wanted to kill me. Zhao Hui decided to investigate Susan. Then the comrades of the news ministry gave him Susan's memoirs. During the preliminary investigation, he discovered that Susan was evaluated by the organization for a dangerous group of people during a psychological examination. But her treatment record disappeared. To find out the truth, Chiu Hitch went to Susan's house to investigate. Zhao Hui detected Susan. The other party used sedatives. There is also a photo of Susan at the resort. This is the resort that his teammates once mentioned. But strangely enough, the time in the photo was before Susan and his teammates got to know each other. And above there was also the shadow of a man. In order to clarify who the other party was, Zhao Hui went to the Patriarch to listen to the news. The other party said that 4 years ago, Susan did have a secret boyfriend. The other party is very likely to be someone inside them. On the side, the Intelligence Bureau arrested a reporter because the other party had a lot of bad news about the Intelligence Bureau, so he was charged with espionage. Her cousin was also forced to testify, but he found something unusual in this evidence. Because the foreign country will never provide them with an exit record as it is easy to obtain this time. The only possibility is that the local enforcement agent sent back. But a year ago, after the list of agents was searched, the special agent team was in distress. JG tried to investigate how it was, and the result was that there were still people alive. and the opponent is a more advanced agent than the Chuanwu page. This also drew attention to the fact that the evidence of the recent case was most likely sent by the Chuanwu page. Where is this person now? And the other party was eating while monitoring information related to the move. To investigate the truth, JG went to the house of the cousin of the circle to investigate the authenticity of the evidence. But as soon as he entered, he found that the other party had been murdered. Because of the fact that he appeared at the scene of the murder, he was also given a ball by his superiors in a match. At this time, Su Zhong suddenly came in to help her. And Director Kang took Zhao Zai's file and went to the deputy mayor. That year, Chiu Hich's parents were murdered. Chiu Hitch at that time was in the palace of his parents. It was not discovered until 3 days later. Since then, Chiu Hitch has suffered from dementia thanks to interruptions. So on the day of his parents' pit, his emotions will become abnormal. The last time he attacked Suzan was the most obvious proof of this, and the amount of drugs used has been overdosed. Director Kang felt that if he continued like this, he would lose control sooner or later, so he wanted to force Zhao Hui to quit his job. But the deputy mayor didn't agree because she now knew about it. But he chose to turn a blind eye, just to let him continue to investigate. Remembering that there were few clues, Director Kang still wanted to convince the other party but was cut off. In fact, we are both the same to achieve our goals without resorting to trickery. The deputy minister wants it to be a trick to restore all memory. Do you think he will be on our side? At the same time, Chiu Hitch was on his way to visit his parents, but he found out that someone was watching. But the other party was a passerby who had the heart to remind him that the headlight behind him was broken. Indeed, the status of the trick is becoming more and more pronounced. When he visited his parents, he found a USB stick. Chiu Hitch immediately reached out to Jays for help. Through technology, they discovered that the man in the photo was Chang Chuanwu. Later, Jays also received immigration information, discovering that the evidence accusing the reporter was fake. She was about to talk about this for a trick, but as soon as she went out, she met Sujian. Under the opponent's questioning, Jays told the truth, but Sujan told her not to investigate anymore. Jays asked if it was because of Chang Chuanwu. Sujan's face changed after hearing this. She warns Jays not to get involved, forget everything. Because it wasn't that simple. Jays didn't listen and said the incident as a gimmick. She also investigates Sujian and Chang Chuanwu, who used to perform the mission together. But Sujian judged Chang Chuanwu like this, carrying out a spy mission for a long time and losing himself. Jays makes an appointment to make it clearer, but when she enters the parking garage, a figure of a man walks towards her. Chiu Hitch also received a call for help from Jays. When he arrived at the parking garage, a car rushed towards him. Jays also lost his mind. Zhao Shi immediately drove the grapefruit car along, but at this time, Jays called, but the voice was from a man. Zhao Shi immediately guessed the identity of the other party, Chang Chuanwu. To save Jays, the trick is to launch the car on the road. In the end, Zhao Shi seized the opportunity to block the opponent's head. He frantically opened the car door, but the person inside was not Chang Chuanwu. And Jays was not in the car either. The phone rang at this time. Look behind him. Xiu Push discovered that Jays was in the trunk of his car. The other party threatened and urged him not to continue investigating. Don't take your own story lightly, he was just passing on the words. When Zhao found out, Chang Chuanwu left right in front of him. Then the two went to the hospital. Fortunately, Jays was not seriously injured and comfort Zhao Shi not to worry about himself. In order to investigate everything clearly, Chiu Hui makes an appointment to meet Sujian, but on the way, Sujan talked about the past. When crossing the street, Sujian suddenly called for a stop. She said that before she was going to join the organization, she owed a favor. So she had to follow a few of the other party's requests. Zhao Shi asked if it was Chang Chuanwu. After a while, Sujian decides to speak up but is suddenly attacked. Zhao Shi hurriedly ran over and hugged her husband. He remembered the passerby calling an ambulance. A man who changed his hat in the crowd hurriedly left. Before fainting, Sujian said a sentence with all her might. Don't believe Director Kang. Sujian is taken to the emergency hospital and Zhao Hai is also taken for questioning. He relied on his memory to reveal all the information about the suspect, but the other party did not believe him and showed him the recorded camera images. As for the content inside, the trick was extremely surprising because in the video he only used to shoot Sujian. Could it be that there was a problem with his memory? He was thrown into a cell, after which Director Kang personally came to bail for Gik due to the two going to a small pub. Director Kang said to Gik, "I'm sorry Gik, I can only do this." Gik asked Director Kang, why didn't he ask who fired the shuttle? Director Kang didn't answer but sat down on the long rope for Gik. On the way to escort Gik, he attacked the agent very quickly, unable to restrain the people in the car. Director Kang tried to stop him but was hit by the car on the opposite side and Gik was also injured. Only he and Director Kang were awake there. So the enemy was about to make a move. Gik immediately opened fire and asked him if he suspected that he had shot Su-ran. Director Kang still didn't answer. Gik said that if he still didn't believe him the next time they met, he could use this gun to kill him. After that, despite Director Kang's words, Gik still left. The deputy governor received the news that Gik opened fire and then fled. The Intelligence Bureau ordered Gik to be arrested, and the deputy chief speculated that this was behind Director Kang. She asked the patriarch to continue investigating. At the same time, Ji-hook turned to Jace, who was the only person he could trust. Jace didn't think much of it, so he took him home, then went to the pharmacy to buy medicine for him. But she just got home, so she was strangled by Gik against the wall because he found out her secret. The fried wall was full of information from the agent, and he was also the object of her investigation. Jace also said that her father was also an agent of the Intelligence Bureau, but by the year she was in high school he had mysteriously disappeared. It was exactly the same as Gik's situation, so his information appeared at her house. But until now, no useful information has been checked. Then Jace asked, "You didn't cause Su-ran's story, right?" Gik is also somewhat comforted because only Jace trusts him. But in his mind now, he was extremely chaotic because the evidence he sold was clearly smelling one. Jace asks, "You what you were doing now?" He remembered the man in the hat. She said she would help him investigate, and then she kindly bandaged his wounds. Gik was also startled. So he was sweating a lot, and she gently held the javelin towel for him. To prove his innocence, Gik goes to the scene of the crime and remembers it carefully. Jace also found surveillance cameras in the surrounding area. Finally, Ji-hook discovers the suspect. Through investigation, Jace discovered that the other party was an agent who had fallen asleep, now at a restaurant. Gik immediately went there. After a while, he couldn't control the other party, but he still didn't wait for him to ask for information. The other party was poisoned and died instantly. Later, through the opponent's phone, Gik discovered that his next subject was the reporter. To find out why the reporter had been targeted, Jace turned to her colleague to investigate. Writing about the reporter preparing to report on the list of agents being investigated. What surprised Jace even more was that Susan had an appointment to meet the other party. After returning to the office, Jace discovers a sequence of numbers on his computer. Through searching, she discovered that it was a data on video counterfeiting techniques. This technique can replace the character in the surveillance camera. So the video of Gik attacking Susan is likely to have been faked. Gik quickly finds the man who developed this counterfeiting technique. The other party said that although this project was forced by the Intelligence Bureau, but very soon a metal artist came to him and paid him a sky-high salary. He then followed the other party's request to edit the video. And this technique is now extremely perfect. After the video is edited, it is difficult to dare to match the authenticity. The only way is to find the original video. At the same time, the team leader passed the analysis of the direction of the bullet fired. Then the person who shot Susan was not Gik. He immediately reported to the deputy chief. But she told her not to go out publicly and then hid this evidence. On this side, Gigi told Ji-hook all the investigative clues. It turns out that at first Susan was also a reporter. Later, with the help of Director Kang, he was able to enter the intelligence. Gik recalled that Susan once said that she once owed others a huge debt of kindness. That's why she forced the doctor to agree to some of the other party's requests. And that person is most likely Director Jiang. Very quickly, Gik came up with an extremely risky plan. He called Director Jiang to ask to meet reporter Chung Kisun privately. Moreover, commandos are not allowed to be ambushed in the vicinity. After he was done, he would surrender and confess, and the other party also agreed to his request. But Director Jiang did not fulfill what he promised. Not only did he arrange a large number of commandos around, there are also 8 snipers who are always ready to give orders. Gigi was also sent to the monitoring room to assist. "You're Gik's partner, aren't you? I hope you can come to the watch room to support us." Very quickly, Gik appeared at the rendezvous point. Because the opponent's body had not yet been determined, Director Jiang did not dare to act arbitrarily. It turns out that Gik's plan is to hack into the camera system, using deepfake software to change the image of the person who appears. At this time, the sniper team was aiming at the target. But when the person in front of them took off his hat, Director Jiang was so surprised that his eyes were full. Because the image that appeared on camera was Sujian, he immediately ordered the action to be paused. Although the sniper team reported that they had correctly identified the enemy as the Gik. "Please give orders." At this time, Director Jiang finally realized and hurriedly ordered the shooting. But it was too late, and Gik led the female reporter to leave. Director Jiang also just fought helplessly and watched the other party go away. Gik then asks Kaisen, "What clue are you holding after all? Why are both the gangsters and the Intelligence Bureau targeting her?" Also, a year ago she discovered an organization called Samaho. Moreover, most of the members of this organization are retired agents of the Intelligence Bureau. After the commando list was revealed, all the commandos were assassinated. But not long after, a member of the Samaho accused the Kaisen. The person said that everything was related to Samaho. But then she lost contact with the Fox. At this point, Jiwook immediately remembered Junwoo, the only person who survived the event. Next, JG calls Jiwook. She told Jiwook that she found another picture in her superior's USB stick. In that picture is Junwoo and two more mysterious men. He immediately texted to meet Junwoo. He told the other party, if you want to meet Kaisen, come to the appointment on time. Sure enough, Junwoo had appeared, but Kaisen wasn't here. Immediately afterwards, Jiwook spoke up. He confirmed that Junwoo was the one who contacted Kaisen to paint the fox. Let everyone know, Junwoo will definitely be the first to be suspected. Next, Jiwook makes a request to talk to Junwoo. He may not announce this. But Junwoo had to release the original video recording the scene of Kaisen being harmed. At the same time, he said the identity of the other two men in this photo. Junwoo agrees to Jiwook's request, but Junwoo doesn't know the true identities of the other two. Jiwook asks Junwoo again about Kaisen's harm, expecting the other party to suddenly become agitated. I didn't know anything. I thought of all sorts of ways to stop it. Did you think about preventing it? Didn't you watch it happen? Very clearly, Junwoo also had something difficult to say. Very quickly, Jiwook got the original video and told Jays. The other party also told Sujin, who was in the hospital, that he had regained consciousness. Jiwook rushed to the hospital, but there was no one inside the hospital room. The next day, Jiwook was hit by a gun. Director Jiang also slowly walked out. He told Jiwook that Sujin had passed away a few hours ago. At that time, Jays tricked Jiwook into going to the hospital. After she finished watching the original video, she suddenly pressed the delete button. Because he was harmed by others, Jiwook was thrown into prison. He refused to let anyone visit him. Every day Jiwook except exercise, the health phase will be the groping, deepening the chain of clues related to the case. But Junwoo, who harmed Jiwook and sent him to prison at this time, is using corporal punishment to take a man's wishes. And this man was the Grand Master of the Wuzhong Gang, Huang Mozhen. His target is the mysterious man who appears in the hotel. But Huang Mozhen didn't say anything. On the contrary, he threatened the other party not to hide it for long. Sure enough, not long after, Junwoo was taken away by their men. The mysterious person invites him to continue to cooperate with him. But Junwoo rejected the other party because he had already endured enough days like this. Before we forget who we are, we want to stop. The next day, Junwoo was hung in front of a billboard. And soon the Central Intelligence Bureau received the news. Since Junwoo used to be his subordinate, the deputy mayor asked to investigate it himself. But Deputy Minister Lee on the side kept pouring more strawberries into the fire, saying that Junwoo hasn't reported anything about the organization in the past few months. Then maybe now Junwoo has betrayed the organization. Although it was not a betrayal, Junwoo's death was most likely due to his identity being exposed. The reason for this is that the deputy mayor is incompetent. The minister also prepared this matter for Deputy Minister Lee to deal with, but the deputy minister was still very persistent. She promised to investigate the truth of this matter within 2 weeks. If he fails to do so, he will be responsible and resign. The minister agreed. Soon after, the Central Intelligence Bureau received the original video of the scene of Sujin being dropped. Although it is not possible to investigate who sent this video, it is enough to prove that Jiwook is completely clean. The deputy chief immediately ordered the head of the team to restore the bamboo to Jiwook. Looking at the way the second team leader came to pick up Jiwook, Director Jiang suddenly called to meet him. The other party said that the deputy governor of the capital, because of completing the task, sacrificed a lot of people. At the moment, Jiwook's state is unstable. So he asked the patriarch to make Jiwook make a mistake. Sure enough, the second patriarch did as he was told. As soon as he met him, he immediately provoked Jiwook, but Jiwook was not only not bald. On the contrary, he also asked if he was sent by Director Jiang, right? Director Jiang must have you come, right? He ordered you to provoke me. He came back to help me, that I was the one who decided, help me stay here or not. Very quickly, Jiwook was released. The first thing he did was to find out why he or she sold him. JG also told the truth. It turned out that day after she called Jiwook. After that, he turned around and met Director Jiang. He told Jiwook that her father was not only not dead, but had returned to his country. Although the exterior has changed, it is very likely that the mysterious man is Jiwook's father. In order to get a piece of termite about his father, he only fought according to the occasions that Director Jiang said, selling Jiwook. After listening to JG's explanation, Jiwook didn't get angry at all. On the contrary, he asked JG to continue to help him investigate. After returning home, Jiwik continued to analyze the case, and his picture of him was also hung on the wall. Very quickly, through investigation, it was discovered that one of the two mysterious men was the deputy director of the North Korean security agency. But recently, she investigated and still did not find out the other party's movements. As for the other man, he didn't even know his true identity. But it is very likely that he is the leader of the gang who shouted and hugged Mosa. In order to investigate the identity of the mysterious man, Jiwik decided to start an investigation from Samaho. The best way to find the termite piece is to find the head of the needle department who hired someone to fake the video. After that, Jiwik came to find the other party. He threatened the other party to reveal who his superior was. But the head of the Kim department said that they had never met their superiors. Each time he receives a task, he communicates through a PDA device. With this device, perhaps Chungu also has one. Jiwik immediately tells JG to go to Chungu's house to investigate, but he doesn't find anything that is PDA. Jiwik was going to bring back the PDA of the head of the needle department, but this device can only communicate with each other within a radius of no more than 100 meters. It was obvious that the members of the Samaho were beside them. JG also investigates a piece of termite, which is Su Juin, who once saved Chungu's life. At that time, Chungu was on a spy mission, but because he killed a person, the fire was exposed. It can even cause important diplomatic problems. The deputy governor immediately ordered Chungu to leave, but Su Juin opposed this approach. It was also because of Su Juin's insistence that Chungu was able to survive. In addition, JG also investigated Chungu's involvement in the chip drug research project as a research subject. This immediately caught Jiwik's attention because this was the drug that made him lose his mind. Next, he went to find a colleague in the intelligence department to ask for an investigation. If you've asked for it, then I'll have to try to find out. He also had to pay attention to that health. On the way home, the PDA machine in Jiwik's hand suddenly received a short message. The content is the truth that lies in the four great heavenly kings. Jiwik immediately got out of the car and looked around, but did not notice anything unusual. Later, he and JG went to see Chungu's body. JG suddenly remembered that she had discovered a particular type of pimple at Chungu's house. It is only visible when it is illuminated by ultraviolet light. JG turned off the light and then used ultraviolet light to rotate. Sure enough, there were many small dots on the body. They immediately scanned the dots, but they still couldn't investigate any useful clues. On the way home, the old man came to see JG, ask her why she sent the original video of Susan being harmed. But she denied that she didn't do it. Elder Jiang asked JG to report all of Jiwik's actions again. The result was frankly rejected by her, because she didn't want to be like Susan, who was always controlled by others. Unexpectedly, the conversation between the two of them was overheard by Jiwik. Because he was not at ease, he didn't know if JG was trustworthy or not. So after reporting to the deputy mayor, he tapped JG's phone. After arriving home, Jiwik continued to analyze the clues as if everything was still covered by the blind. And when she went to the supermarket to buy things with an advertisement next to her, it seemed to make her understand something. She instantly linked the bright spots on her body together and discovered that this was the image of the horse. The information of that code is an extremely rare disease. The number of people affected by this disease is not more than 20 people. In the reading, there was a person named Chun Pengyu who confessed to their attention. This man named Chun Pengyu graduated from the military academy. He not only participated in the military coup but was also one of the founders of intelligence. This man, known as the Demon King, suddenly disappeared after retiring. But Chun Pengyu tattooed Pengyu's information on himself, proving that Pengyu must have called some secret. The two immediately went to the hospital to investigate, but Lutan only told them about the time Pengyu was hospitalized. As for other information, the Lutan department did not reveal half a word. Waiting after the two of them left, Lutan immediately had a phone to report upstairs. And I also realized that Lutan's staff was not ordinary. After returning to study the architecture of the hospital, they found that after the hospital was renovated, then there was a space that suddenly mysteriously disappeared. So it means that there is a secret 25th floor, right? You have to come to check to know. JG went to the hospital again after confirming that the elevator took longer than usual to travel from the second floor to the third floor. The time on that deviation is most likely due to the elevator going to the second and fifth floors. After leaving the hospital, JG came to confess directly to Zhao Shi. Yesterday, Director Jiang came to see me and I refused. Must be the original footage in the camera, not sent by me. At this time, Zhao Shi suddenly received a phone call, and the other party told him that he had found a document about a drug that caused him to lose his memory. The person in charge of this project is the psychologist of the police team. But it was clear that the other party had told him that he didn't know anything about that drug. Zhao Shi told him to continue to supervise and he would go to the other doctor to confirm. But the other party said that it was all the order of the team leader. Immediately afterwards, Zhao Shi came to see the patriarch again, and the other party finally admitted that he was the one who always silently helped Zhao Shi. The netizen who contacted Zhao Shi was him. The person who left the documentary video was also him. Even reminding him of the fake video was him. Zhao Shi asked the patriarch why he did this. He said, "Don't you really remember anything? All these things are your brother remembers me doing." About 2 months before he returned, it was like a voice echoing through the thoughts of the dead. "You threatened me by embezzling funds in Syria, making me look for you, asking me if I had anything to do with what happened a year ago. He asked me over and over again until he was satisfied. Until now, I have not forgotten those eyes. Don't you feel that you have to pay too much for eating up your budget? I also vow to serve and devote myself to the country just like him." Gigi through the security camera detected that just by scanning the card and pressing the second and third floors at the same time, the elevator would stop between the 2 floors. She deliberately approached a doctor after knocking out the other party to get her clothes and nameplate. After meeting with the other party to scan the card and press the elevator button, she arrived at the place where the hospital deliberately hid. There was not a shadow of a person in the corridor, and there were a lot of medicines that had already been used in this place. This drug can cause people to fall into a state of false death. Therefore, this is not a disease prevention but a prison to detain prisoners. Very quickly, she found the cell of her beloved virgin. Gigi pushed the door open and found an old man in a coma, and beside him there were many unused potions. Gigi wanted to find help, but she was miserable that there was no phone signal here. After that, Gigi directly pushed her love out, but as soon as she came out the door, she encountered 2 men. As soon as he got on the car, he found out that the other party was not an ordinary medical worker. Then a gun was pointed at her. After the car started, Gigi was about to pull out a gun to stop the enemy. But when she looked at the picture in the mirror, she suddenly saw a person. It was the hidden man who was most likely her father. Gigi was a little distraught. Just like that, the ambulance ran away. Immediately afterwards, several black-clothed people rushed towards her. Mother Grinding Gix arrived just in time for the 2 people to chase in the direction of the ambulance earlier. It seems that the robber who fell in love was not Samugo's person. Suddenly, the PDA machine in Gix's hand received a threatening message. "If you continue to follow us, you will die just like Chang Chunwo." But Gix didn't care. Soon they saw their car suddenly stop. And the love was also dropped into the street by them. Soon another message was sent: "This is the gift I gave you." Then gunshots rang out. Just like that, Feng Yi was killed by them. Gix let Gigi drive and he would hide behind the car door and slowly move forward. Soon they received another message. Gigi still hadn't had time to read the content of the message to Gix. "I heard that someone had thrown a bomb from the ambulance." Gix hurriedly pulled Gix out of the car, but they were still affected by the explosion. Gix fainted on the spot. Immediately afterwards, a mysterious man appeared in front of them. Gix stood up and stared at the other party as if to confirm. After all, whether this man is his father or not. But the other party didn't speak. Then the sound of gunfire rang out. Ji Huix also fell. Waiting after Gix woke up, a few pieces of memories appeared in his mind. After regaining his senses, he immediately rushed towards Gix. Fortunately, she was wearing a bulletproof shirt, so it was okay. After regaining consciousness, she told Gix that the other man's exterior was not the same as her father. But the other party was most likely her father. Ji Huix, on the other hand, thinks that the opponent is a distant lip. Then Gix told Gix the content of the last message they received. After hearing this, he was extremely surprised because the message they received was the same as what Director Jiang had said. Standing all day long, looking for answers from the outside. Maybe the truth was right next to him where he didn't expect it. Then the Information Technology Department adopts PDA equipment analysis. It was discovered that this program was written by a well-known technology company called Pronet. The 2 immediately went there to investigate. After watching the program, the person in charge also very cheerfully admitted that this program was written by them. But because this program has been written for so long, they don't need to remember which client hired them to write the program anymore. Now their company has moved into a new field. They mainly analyze data to find out each person's preferences. Then sell the information of the analyzed groups of people to online sales channels. On the way back, Quick discovered a few small details. Not only the song they just heard was the song they heard in the car. Even drinking water and food are their favorites. It is very likely that these things are the enemy who is warning them. It's like a giant with 100 star eyes, that's right. At the same time, the deputy mayor had to resign because he did not investigate the truth. On the other hand, The senior managers of the Intelligence Bureau were having a meal together. The person who was promoted to deputy minister was Director Jiang. Next, Deputy Minister Lai brought the plan to adjust human resources in front of the minister. The minister had not even had time to see that he had asked the minister to sign. Naturally, the minister still wanted to refuse, but now Vice Minister Lai has no opponent. He didn't control the entire Intelligence Bureau. He began a major purge within the Intelligence Bureau. Triet and JJ are also sent to his department. Because of this, it would be more convenient for him to follow those two people. She didn't have leather shoes later, pay attention to how to dress a little. But the director of the department was always following him, not being promoted in this personnel transfer. I know how hard you work, but everything has to have a chance. This made him very uncomfortable. At the same time, he went to find Director Jiang, who was drinking, and handed the other party a file. Director Jiang can do whatever he wants. Then the news of the mobilization of personnel was transmitted out. This was the last time they sat down to eat together to celebrate this meal. I invite. Director Jiang also talked about Duik. From next week, he will be transferred to the Deputy Secretary of the department. Duik said that the opponent changed more and more to promote Director Jiang, who sacrificed too many people. But Director Jiang said what he did was to protect people. Duik suddenly mentioned Susan. She said she was indebted to a person, so she just continued to follow orders. He took out a picture found among Susan's relics and left the room. After seeing the picture of Director Jiang with tears in his eyes, it turns out that he is Susan's secret boyfriend. A man then approached Duik and said that John Drew, his friend, had unfortunately had an accident. But he thinks it's not that simple. Because John Drew discovered a secret, the company revealed a large amount of personal information. This includes the personal information of millions of people. John Drew had intended to expose the matter, but she had an accident shortly afterwards. And that company is the digital utility company that they have just finished investigating. JJ immediately went to the police station to investigate. Although John Drew's accident was speculated by the police that she was driving while tired and caused the accident, but according to the camera footage, the car seemed to have lost control and crashed into the divider. After that, the head of the HA team told Duik unexpectedly Director Jiang was also investigating that digital company. Duik, don't let yourself turn into a monster because of catching monsters. At the same time, in John Drew's diary, JJ discovered a psychology research company. She immediately went there to investigate. These places were empty, without a shadow of a person. And the two professors in charge of the company have already gone abroad. At the time of the arrangement, Duik found out that this psychological research company was also related to the head of the needle department. Duik immediately went to the other party and held out the professor's picture to ask. The other party also told him that these two professors are psychologists and sociology professors. 10 years ago, he had only introduced two experts to work for Samaho. As for what those two people are doing, the head of the Kim department does not know at all. At the same time, JJ also discovered some clues. The accounts of the two professors will have a large amount of money transferred in every period of time. JJ immediately thought about the election, thinking that Samuho's real purpose was to count the votes for the presidential election. They then used the data that the two professors have researched, then used the data analysis method. Just like that, they will not be able to control the people's choice invisibly. Last year when JJ had an accident, there was also a general election. After that, JJ went to meet a woman to wait for information. The other party told him that every time there is an election, there are some things that lie about the political situation. Raidongkun is a hideout in North Korea. Last year during the election, Samaho probably wanted to use Raidongkun to interfere with the election results. But the other party was suddenly harmed. That day coincided with the day when something happened. Triet tried to remember. At that time, the goal of their mission was to light the lips. Then he saw the figure of the Mosa Cypress. Trung-yu gave the commando list to Mosa later. Raidongkun also appeared at the hotel. At that time, the place where they were carrying out their duties was obviously to supervise Raidongkun. Why did they suddenly change their targets? Why were Raidongkun and his teammates harmed? Everything seemed to be covered by blindness. At this time, JG suddenly called the phone. She discovers Jongja's last call before the crash. It was to call their inner circle. But the phone number was encrypted and it was impossible to investigate who the other party was. Then he sent that phone number to the Blood Tribune. He immediately called over there, telling the other party that he was turning them into manipulating the election. If you don't want this to be public, go see him at the parking lot. Very quickly, the other party came here and the Blood Tribe also came out. But the other party had no intention of getting off the car. On the contrary, he accelerated towards him. Tri-Blood immediately withdrew to counterattack and the car quickly stopped. Blood Tri immediately went to smash the glass door. But the person inside surprised him immensely, and he hurriedly took the other party to the hospital. Because it was obvious that the director's car was being controlled by someone. When no one is driving, the car does not stop accelerating. At this time, the patriarch called the Blood Tribe because he received the timed Blood Tribe video. Tribe Blood remembered a few things from before. When Dong Luan was harmed, the person standing next to him was also crowded. In addition, a week later he will receive the final video, including the whole truth and the perpetrator who killed his comrade. But before that, he was forced to investigate the insiders who were in the organization. At the same time, Deputy Secretary Lee came to see JG. Mr. Tan told her that her father was not unlucky to disappear but was sold by a colleague. His colleague wanted to achieve higher results, so he sold her father to the North Korean security agency. The person who shot her was named Baek Mosa. Is it in your father's line? There will be a period of time and everything will be clear. After that, Mr. Tan gave him the number of a set of documents. After reviewing the file, she was extremely surprised. Next, she brought a gun to find the deputy mayor and asked the other party why she sold her father. The deputy governor didn't explain too much because she knew he didn't know how to use a gun. At this time, Baek Mosa was in a car not far away. The next day, the minister held a meeting to reprimand Deputy Minister Lee for arbitrarily dispatching manpower. At the same time, using the funds of the intelligence department without reporting to him. Vice Minister Lee didn't bother to pay attention to this because he had grasped all the forces in the intelligence bureau. The minister is now just for decoration. She immediately invited the other two to eat together, and they immediately ignored the director and got up and followed Deputy Minister Lee. One side of the confession sniffed and told JG that everything was for interference and the election results. And the person with the greatest danger is Deputy Secretary Lee, who is in charge of commandos in the country. But I don't agree with this inference because Dong Zheng is inherently on Vice Minister Lee's side. If you take advantage of him to get involved in the election results, you will definitely not kill him. On the contrary, the deputy chief of the capital has a greater risk. She could do anything because she wanted to achieve her goal, and she could even give her father. JG asked JG where he knew about this, but JG didn't answer. On the contrary, she asked JG if he had tapped her phone. Let's stop cooperating here. JG guessed that Vice Minister Lee had probably come to see JG, and he advised her not to be taken advantage of by him. But JG said, so what about the statement? He doesn't trust me either, he just takes advantage of me, isn't it? After that, he turned around to leave. This time you turn away. The next time we meet again, maybe we will be that enemy. Then, he also never considered me his own person. Previously, through investigation, it was known that the person who stood them was Donghua, but the other party had also died in the line of duty. Therefore, JG came to find the wife of the Eastern country. The other party told him before carrying out the last mission, it seemed that the Eastern country had received some order from his superiors. After that, he began to feel sad, awkward, and always felt sorry for his teammates. At this time, JG also remembered a few things. Before going on duty, the deputy city minister seemed to have given him an order. But he didn't think about it and immediately refused. So then the deputy mayor came to look for the Eastern country. At this time, a person carrying a baby walked in. The other party told JG that Donghua had never met his child because the moment the baby was born was Donghua's free day. Then the phone rang and JG was once again immersed in memories. Donghua's phone ringing is exactly the same as his wife's phone ringing. When the other party was harmed, the phone also rang. The other party did not expect that Zhuik's actions would be monitored by the deputy minister. It seems that we have to act quickly. At the same time, JG joined Vice Minister Lee's team. He told them that they had to find out the clue to the Mosa first. Thus, they can use the Mosa to reveal the true face of the deputy mayor. But if they let the deputy mayor find it first, they will definitely kill people to hide the truth. Since JG mentioned Samu Ho, Deputy Minister Lee also admitted that he was a member of it. But it was all for the sake of maintaining the organization, so he was forced to rely on other forces. Then he took JG to the intelligence department, which was also the keycard in his hand. The machine system in this place is linked to the machine of the Digital Precious Company. Its ability to gather intelligence is just beyond people's imagination. JG is also arranged to work here. JG, come over here, forbidden to speak privately to the people here, let's go to work. Ms. Locke angrily reported this news to Deputy Minister Lee. Although he didn't know what the specific content was, Deputy Minister Lee guessed that this was most likely the Deputy Minister because he was making an appointment to meet with Mosa. Because the purpose of the Mosa is to avenge the Deputy Minister. The deputy minister also knows this, so it is very likely that this is a trap to lure Baimosa to appear. And the person who began to do his best to supervise the deputy minister did. Looking at the deputy minister very quickly, due to her actions, she talked about the misunderstanding between the two of them. She would go directly to him to explain everything. Baimosa also agreed to meet. It all started with a misunderstanding. How should I call you? Captain Jujiman. You're the one who made me like this. After that, the two sides kept getting closer to each other. Unexpectedly, the snipers appeared around again, and the snipers were ready to give orders. At this time, Jaiwick was also running as if flying to the scene very quickly. The sniper aimed directly at Baimosa. But at this moment, someone suddenly detonated the bomb. The deputy minister was affected by the explosion and fainted on the spot, and Baimosa slowly walked out. At this moment, Jaiwick suddenly appeared, and the eyes of Baimosa's juniors were hostages to threaten him. After seeing Jaiwick, Baimosa smiled impressively. He said the two men were very similar, to defy everything to find and kill the enemy. But if you want to take revenge, you must know that you were doing it for your teammates or for yourself. Because the objects of revenge of both are different. He just didn't remember. Not that the past had disappeared. Wait until the past comes back and grabs him by the neck. It was obvious that Baimosa understood Jaiwick very well, and then he angrily shot his junior to death. Without letting Jaiwick have time to react, he jumped on the boat and ran away. Jaiwick suddenly appeared and ruined the entire plan of the report. It turned out that JG and Jaiwick didn't turn against each other. JG took the initiative to follow Deputy Minister Li's side to collect the information, then secretly sent it to Jaiwick. But she also made a request not to kill Baimosa. After regaining consciousness, the deputy minister told Jaiwick that a year ago she had received the news that Deputy Minister Li wanted to take advantage of the crowd to interfere in the election. So she ordered the Eastern Kingdom to monitor the enemy, but she didn't order the killing. On the other hand, if Dongzheng refused Deputy Minister Li's request at that time, then Vice Minister Li was very likely to kill Dongzheng. Whether it was a year ago or now, it wasn't all her fault. Jaiwick also recalled some of the things that happened the evening when his comrade was killed, and there was still another person there, and that person was JG. At that time, JG was working for Samaho, so it was very likely that the cause of all this was Deputy Minister Li. Later, colleagues in the intelligence department discovered that the last person, the girl, had an accident in the trip called Director Deng. Jaiwick immediately went to find the other party, but because there was no authentic residence, naturally Director Deng would not admit it. Jaiwick told him the same as Director Jiang. After finishing his work, he would most likely kill the queen. Director Deng didn't say much, and immediately after that, Jaiwick also left. But immediately afterwards, someone kidnapped Director Deng. He tried his best to finally escape. But all of these things were laid out by the Blood Tribe and the Patriarch to scare the director. Very quickly, Director Deng made an appointment to meet with Tri-Blood. He was sure that Deputy Minister Li wanted to kill him. There was no other way. He had no choice but to cooperate with Tri-Blood. Indeed, Deputy Minister Li has a weakness in cyberspace. As long as the professor's materials are taken as a chapter, Deputy Minister Li will be officially degraded by public opinion. And the professor in charge of the current research is still in the country, because the enemy's entry and exit history was forged by the director of the department. At the same time, he also told the Blood Tribe something. 10 years ago, Baimosa was arrested, and the person who stood them was the Deputy Minister of Glass. Because at that time, the power of the deputy mayor was too great. Therefore, Deputy Minister Li deliberately revealed the information of the commando working for her chief. After knowing the truth, the insider was the deputy minister. The last video that the Blood Trident sent was also watched. He brought the intelligence to the Blood Tribe, then asked her to investigate the professor's clues. On the other side, the deputy chief came to meet Shin Su-chung. The director of the Planet Technology Company threatened the enemy with a fight, because he heard that he was trying to encrypt the secret data store. At the same time, the Blood Tribune also investigated the professor's clues. Unexpectedly, the enemy was hiding it inside the Planet Company, and the car that assassinated Baimosa before was also the car named by the professor. She immediately reported this news to the Blood Tribe. But before she could finish speaking, a person appeared right next to her. After that, the phone was turned off, and the Blood Tribe called back to see that Jays had turned off the phone. Tri-Blood immediately went to the professor and threatened him. But when he was about to take the data, the professor told him that all the data had been encrypted. It would take at least a few decades to break it. The only person who can remove the encryption is So Common. Then Tri-Blood came to look for Su Chung, but after being attacked in a battle, So Chung said that this data could not be opened. If you want to open it, you must have the consent of Samuho. At this time, Deputy Minister Li suddenly came out and frankly highlighted Deputy Minister Li's arrangement with the election. But he told him that he had missed the point of everything. Since Lee took office, the government has undergone 8 changes of government. Only each minister has replaced 21 people. Every wave of ministers asked them to be loyal. They were ordered to stir-fry the elections, manipulate the opinions of the People's Army. Then the ministers disappeared and all the charges fell on them. They couldn't explain it because that was their fate. Now that he wants to get rid of that bondage, more than half of it is about to succeed. But the Blood Tribune broke his plan. Tri-Blood criticized Deputy Minister Lee for only wanting to satisfy his aspirations and intentions. Criticize him for killing too many people. Deputy Minister Lee found it impossible to convince the Blood Tribe to order his level to bring in the Reggie. He threatened to force Tri-Blood to surrender his weapons. With this friend of yours, you won't leave your face, will you? There was no other way, he was just wandering. At the moment when Deputy Minister Lee thought that he had firmly grasped the victory in his hands, then the phone suddenly rang. It's been a long time since I saw you, Deputy Secretary Lee. In addition, Director Jiang has long since regained consciousness. Thank you to Director Jiang if the investigation fails. Director Jiang, please make the last video you left public. At this time, all the senior managers of the intelligence agency were sitting together. The head of the Ha team also received the video. The image is also transmitted to the Blood Tribe. But the content of the video surprised everyone. A year ago, the person who killed my comrade was me. In addition, that year when carrying out the mission, the spy suddenly came to see Tri-Blood. Tell him where their friend's hiding place has been exposed. And the people who know the news only have a few friends. So among his 2 teammates, there must be one person who is an insider. Tri-Blood also began to take precautions, but he didn't say anything, but directly took his 2 comrades to move to another place. In the next mission, they saw back Mosa and Dong Chun. It seems that Mosa has discovered his cousin. He even turned to their friend's ticket to say hello. And the Chinese commandos of intelligence suddenly appeared here. Things suddenly became more complicated. He frantically proposed to withdraw, but the Eastern country did not agree. He thinks that if China had appeared here, so the person behind the directive to China is definitely within themselves. It must be that the sudden appearance of the winter is very likely to affect the election. The 2 argued bitterly, and finally Tri-Blood decided to continue the investigation. But the sudden appearance of Dong Luan also made them change their goals. After that, the Blood Tribe detected the madness and often secretly communicated with the outside. But after investigating, it was discovered that he only contacted Su Shui alone. But the crazy power conserves the blood to pay more attention to the Eastern country. Because Donghua has been very angry lately, it seems that he is bending over, hiding something. Immediately afterwards, they discovered that the eastern side of the rubber had taken action. He let his 2 teammates come close to supervise. He also told them not to act on their own. We will only use Channel 3. They'll stay here and observe. Don't leave your position without my orders, did you know? Not long after, the Blood Tribe lost contact with the 2 of them on the east side of the river, and there was no more movement. Tri-Blood immediately ran to the hotel to find out where Donghua had gone. He immediately ran to Dong Chun's room and saw that the other party was dead. And the person standing next to Dong Chun is Donghua. Donghua was about to explain something, but outside the door came the sound of the police. Tri-Blood immediately told Donghua to use an emergency escape device to escape. He then followed after hours from the scene. On the way to escape, he also saw the middle court pass in front of him. When he arrived at the room, Tri-Blood saw Donghua and Xiao Su being shot at each other. Tri-Blood told the 2 of them to put down their guns and talk calmly, expecting the Eastern country to directly shoot and kill Kyosu. Dong Quoc explained to the Blood Tribe that if he couldn't get a gun, the dead person would be their 2 cousins. Immediately afterwards, Dongguo's phone rang. When he was about to answer the phone, the Blood Tribe stopped him. Expecting Dongguo's face to change immediately, he picked up his gun and pulled the trigger. Tri-Blood also got angry, but he quickly realized that he had misunderstood. The person that the Eastern country attacked was Zhongyu, who didn't know where to get out. Seeing that Dongguo was dead, the Blood Tribe was extremely regretful. Immediately afterwards, Dongguo's phone rang again, and Wu Donghua sent a picture. After seeing the picture, the Blood Tribe was in extreme pain. Doubt has finally swallowed us all. After that, the Blood Tribe locked himself up, wanting to investigate who was the traitor inside the organization. But all assumptions to be discarded. Living in love and treachery. For a long time the people began to go crazy. Even childhood memories that had been forgotten resurfaced. The bad guy took a gun and smashed into his house to rob him. When he was fighting with the bad guys, he wanted to help his father with a hand. Unexpectedly, he killed his father by mistake, suffering immensely, making him unable to watch anymore. He wanted to find the real enemy and then kill the enemy despite all the tricks. And at this moment, the enemy of the blood knowledge was standing right in front of him. After learning the truth, he suddenly shot and injured the people around him. He had to kill the deputy minister for revenge. But JG suddenly stood on the moon in front of him, trying to calm down. But now he was out of control. Having to suffer a big shock that caused the blood to faint, Director Jiang wanted to investigate the evidence of Deputy Minister Li's crime. But that place had already been cleared. Very quickly, Deputy Minister Li opened a blood discipline meeting. Director Jiang stood up for the right. He said that the blood tribe was also the victim. Although in the video he admitted that he had killed his comrades. But it was clear that his consciousness shifter was not awake. So he suggested releasing tribe blood first. Naturally, Director Li couldn't ignore this. In the end, Director Jiang handed over the position of deputy minister to protect his blood. After that, Director Jiang went to see the blood tribe to admit everything. Lying there, he had indeed cooperated with the deputy minister so that the deputy minister did not hold power alone. So at that time, he asked Su Zhong through humility to receive their news. Then handed it over to the deputy minister. But on the night of the incident, they suddenly couldn't get in touch with humility. Then Samuel wanted to destroy Su Zhan. He sadly wanted to stop it. But at that time, Su Zhong no longer trusted him. He will be responsible for this. But before that, they had to join forces to overthrow Deputy Minister Lai. After that, he took out the lake for fear of the case of his parents being harmed. In addition, his father's death has nothing to do with him. At that time, he fired daggers on the ceiling. The bullet in his father's body came from another claw. So the memory is not necessarily correct. Including a year ago, there were probably still things he didn't know. The blood tribe's will to fight flared up again. Then he went to see the deputy mayor and she told the blood tribe. Until now, humility has always been a man of Samuel. He also had contact with Su Zhan. He became Su Zhan's lover, most likely with other intentions. And the person who killed Dong Zhong was most likely modest. At that time, Donghua saw him and immediately shot him to Dong Hong's room. After that, he immediately reported to the deputy mayor. So that by the time the Eastern Kingdom comes, the Eastern Central Government is dead. To hide this, Samuel will definitely kill Donghua and try blood. At that time, Donghua killed modestly because he received the order of the deputy minister. Otherwise, the two of them would have been killed by the Samuel. This is also the reason why the blood crush kills his comrades. I thought that as long as I regained my memories, I would find a way to overthrow the opponent. But now Deputy Secretary Li has covered it up. Now there is no evidence at all. We can only cooperate to defeat the opponent. At least now we have the same enemy. Now the only clue to get the evidence is the Zhang, director of Planet Company. Through the investigation, the car of Truong Zhang and her friend was detected. In order to be changed the programming, an accident occurred. And the same car accident has a total of 3 cases. All victims are involved in the handling plan of companies that use people's personal information. If this plan is approved for Su Zhong, it is no different from fighting in the middle of the sky, because he uses people's personal information to suppress ads. Revenge for profits. Perhaps Deputy Secretary Li wanted to prevent the plan from being passed, in exchange for the advancement of the planetary company. In addition, the director of the Central Department also joined their friends. Because of this country, the Central Director revealed a lot of internal information. But I didn't expect that all of this was arranged by Deputy Minister Li. I gave him a new position get. They immediately came to find Su Zhong and at the same time spoke to the other party. Because he wanted to prevent the plan, he shook hands with Deputy Minister Li to kill the lawmaker. If Su Zhong can come out to prosecute and prove Vice Minister Li's crimes, they might consider reducing his sensitivity. We also knew he was coerced. What do you want? At the same time, the director of the Central Bureau suddenly reported the news to Deputy Minister Li. But Vice Minister Li did not trust Su Zhong. Originally, I was going to deal with him recently. I hired someone to intervene in his car. But before I deal with him, I want to meet him once. Vice Minister Li angrily came to the door of the Planet Company. But the person who was waiting for him here was Director Jiang. It turns out that the middle director is an insider of the blood knowledge side. He carefully revealed the information that Su Zhong betrayed, then secretly recorded Vice Minister Li's words. Su Zhong originally didn't intend to betray him, but when he finished listening to the recording, feeling that I have been cornered, there's no way to go. And Su Zhong also did not fully trust Deputy Minister Li. The times the two talked to each other, he secretly recorded them. Even the PDA equipment that Samaho uses is monitored by him. It's really intermediate. Let's go peacefully. Getting these eggs very quickly, Deputy Secretary Li was arrested. But he did not sit still and wait for death, but immediately contacted his subordinates to save him. By all means, you have to get me out of here today. At the same time, Gik let JG supervise the projectile field because it was very likely that the enemy was also a member of the Samaho. So he went to Deputy Minister Lee to ask about what happened a year ago. Lying dumbfounded, Deputy Minister Lee said that the person who killed Dong Chun was not him, because he couldn't contact Dong Chun that night. So he ordered the needle to go to the freezer room and see. But by the time the needle arrived, Dong Luin was already dead. But the real culprit was Bai Mosa. That year, when Bai Mosa's commando identity was exposed, the person who arrested him was Dong Chun. After that, Dong Chun tortured Bai Mosa extremely ruthlessly. Not only that, if the commandos of the Intelligence Bureau were arrested at the scene of Dong Chun's murder, it will affect the country's diplomacy. The real purpose of Bai Mosa was to destroy the Intelligence Bureau. Moreover, in the past, the MOS also conducted a thorough investigation of Ji-hik. All of everyone's actions were calculated by him in his plan. But he didn't expect that Gik would be able to get out. Everyone was thrown away by Bai Mo in his arms to play. After that, Vice Minister Lee began to mobilize all forces to capture Moses. But all the commandos sent could not return. I say, Gik, do you still treat me like a monster? In the face of an enemy like Moses, we are just colleagues with the same goal. But even so, Ji-hik could not forgive Deputy Secretary Lee. The blood debt he caused will have to be paid sooner or later. Our paths are different. You think the path you take is the right one. Vice Minister Lee's pineapple level. After coming here, he immediately tore off the mask. I didn't expect that the other party was Bai Mosa. It turned out that Vice Minister Lee was not the head of the Sangmuho. After discussions by Sangmuho's senior managers, they finally decided to let the state minister take his place. The most suitable person to take on the task of eliminating Deputy Minister Lee is Bai Mosa. It was also thanks to reading Sangmuho that he was able to reconcile with Bai Mosa. This task is also assigned to the state minister to handle. At this time, the blood branch also received a phone call from JG. It is also said that the head of the Kim department is coming to the airport to prepare to flee. Chi Blood immediately realized that this was not normal, because he had just passed by the head of the needle room. When he ran to Deputy Minister Lee's cell, he came and hung at the foot of the house. Blood Chi hurriedly saved him. After a period of first aid, Vice Minister Lee finally recovered his consciousness. After that, Vice Minister Lee continued to fall into a coma to learn more information about the Mosaic Encyclopedia. The blood branch came to find a junior of the Xiangjiang sect. The other party told the blood limb that he had never seen Bai Mosa's real face. Although the Mosa rarely appears, the enemy does not control the trade in military weapons. My Tuesday, counterfeit money at the border. All intelligence must pass through his hands, and the name Mosa refers to the person who gives the books. He doesn't control everything, according to people's thoughts. All of his subordinates were personally selected by him and were extremely loyal. Although everyone says that Bai Mosa lives uselessly. But he thought he was hatching a huge conspiracy. What he wanted was something I didn't expect. Until today, all of them have developed according to the plan of the Mosaic. On the other hand, on the matter of Deputy Secretary Lee's being harmed, the Patriarch suspects that this is most likely due to the state minister quietly acting to regain power. At the same time, the deputy minister was assisted by a group of close subordinates to go all out to pursue Bak Mosa, although they did not know what the true purpose of the Mosaic was. But surely the other party is plotting a very big thing. After the meeting, the Blood Tribune came to see JG, hoping that she would withdraw from the mission this time. Because even though Bai Mosa is her father, but JG thinks that even if her father really turns into a monster, she also had to do her best to stop the other party. I must do so, I've already decided. Very quickly, the colleague of the Blood Tribe discovered. At the time of the deputy minister, due to an accident, the security camera system was suddenly disabled. But there was no external sign of intrusion into the system. After analyzing unexpectedly, the other party took advantage of the reading code that remained close in the case of counseling, hacking into the information system of intelligence agencies. The two immediately came to seek advice to investigate. Sang advised not to hide anything. He said that when he broke into the Intelligence Bureau system, someone gave him the code. He didn't know who the other party was. At that time, they only contacted each other via text. But the Blood Tribune group still thinks that Sang Chuan is hiding something. The person who gave him the code was most likely Bai Mosa. Do you mean to advise Bai Mosa to join the army? After that, the two began to follow and advise. Sure enough, he had contact with a subordinate of Bai Mosa. Through tracking, they finally discovered the hiding place of the Moss. Recently, the electricity consumption of that place is much higher than usual. Although he didn't know what Bai Mosa was doing, the deputy governor of the capital still ordered the launch of an attack on Bai Mosa. Everyone was immediately fully armed and quickly ran there. After the door was blown up, the commandos immediately rushed in, but there was not a single figure inside. But just as they were about to search this place carefully, the explosion took place. Before they could see what the other party was like, they were seriously injured. Immediately afterwards, the enemy also launched an attack, and the battle was extremely fierce. At this time, he suddenly ran out and was shot. Xian hurriedly came to save him. At this time, Baimosa finally appeared. After the bomb exploded, an invisible source of energy was emitted from within. Not only are all electronics disabled, but even cars can't start. At this time, Baimosa was about to drop the gun and kill him, but suddenly he rushed out. After hearing JG's call, it was obvious that Baimosa was a little surprised. But after he finished attending, he suddenly opened a gun, causing JG to be injured. Baimosa's juniors also came here, and with the support of Baimosa, they quickly got into the car and ran away. This action completely failed, and they discovered that Baimosa was using an old-fashioned EMP bomb. It doesn't just ruin the signals of all electronic devices. Even the electronic components in the car were destroyed. The other party advised to be taken to the emergency hospital. The deputy chief gave the order after he regained consciousness and immediately took strong measures to shorten the interrogation time. JG tried to stop him, but the deputy chief said they had to take the big picture seriously, because it is very likely that the mosaic will cause greater disasters. At this moment, JG suddenly spoke up and they found a carefully guarded laptop at the scene. It is possible that there will be important evidence in it at this time. The IT department is in the process of restoration. The deputy mayor also agreed to accept the ministry. If she could not find useful evidence, she would still continue to interrogate and advise. Under the relentless efforts of his colleagues, the computer was finally repaired. Inside is a diagram of the National Cemetery in Suzhou where the martyrs are memorialized. Everyone was still wondering what this place meant, but the deputy mayor seemed to understand something. The minister told her that on the day of the vote, senior officials of the two parties would come to the country to pay tribute to the martyrs. And that day, the deputy mayor will also go to the podium to speak. Therefore, the target of Baimosa is not the deputy mayor, but the delegates of the two parties. The director of the page proposed to immediately stop the operation, but the deputy minister said that it could be ensured, because that's the only chance to catch Baimosa. So she agreed to take herself as bait. Then a picture in the computer caught Triwick's attention. The number in it was the code of the container that transported the mysterious old man. He asked his colleague for information about the old man, but the colleague told him that after he was arrested, he was no longer sober. But Triwick still went to the sanatorium to look for the other party. No matter what he said, the old man still sat still and did not move. You can make your request, and then you will do your best to accommodate your request. On the other hand, the man asked the priest if he only needed to apologize. No matter what he did, he could be forgiven, right? It seemed that the envoy father also realized something immediately afterwards. The man told the porcelain father a story. That year he and his friend were arrested. During that time, they were brutally tortured. Sometimes they even doubt whether they are in hell or not. In the end, his friend couldn't help but beg him to kill him. Seeing his friend in desperate pain, he peeled off the other party with his own hands. Then he pulled out a friend's bone. After a period of constant sharpening, he finally used the bone as a weapon to escape. But since then, his consciousness has gradually become vague. He killed his friend with his own hands, but thanks to his friend, he escaped. So these hands killed my friend or myself. Only then did he realize that what he risked his life to protect was only the benefit of a very small group of people. Therefore, he had to personally reveal everything to the whole world so that those people would pay the price. The envoy was about to admonish him, but after Baimosa finished speaking, he got up and left. Later, the envoy father talked to JG because he was speechless, and Baimosa's intonation was similar to her father's narrow meaning. JG also told Jaywick about it. Based on the conclusion of the psychologist, it is very likely that the tissue is affected by external stimuli, so it has dissociative lying. JG begged Jaywick to stop Baimosa. Follow me to do it. Very quickly, the anniversary took place as planned, and many high-ranking government officials gathered here. Everyone who enters the room must go through identity verification, and there are also commandos patrolling continuously. But JG didn't take part in the action this time because Jaywick was told by the mysterious old man that, entering the country with him, there were also a few lumps in the place which were very likely to contain bombs. With the help of her teammates, she tracked down to a cargo truck. They discovered that the car went into a large building and then did not go out anymore. JG immediately took action. On the other hand, the deputy minister was forced to speak, but at the scene there was still no intention of anything but silence to happen. But soon the statistics department discovered the problem and the list of attendees was corrected. Participation list? He said it was a man named Kim Jong-chu who was about 75 years old. Jae-wook immediately went to the waiter to compare. Soon he spotted a person behaving abnormally and Jae-wook immediately opened fire to warn everyone. When he saw that the enemy was about to resist, Jae-wook immediately shot and killed him. But when he got closer, he suddenly found that he was tying a bomb to his body. Moreover, the counting time was over. At the same time, Jae-wook also found the other truck. When he tried to open the door, Jae-wook found out that there was a huge bomb inside. It was obvious that in the end, the distant 100 lips were still higher than them. On the other side, Jae-wook screamed and lay down, then directly used his body to cover the bomb. But the explosion did not occur. Immediately afterwards, the phone rang. It seemed that he was wrong. What I want is not pointless killing. He told Jae-wook that the so-called government was nothing more than an organization to satisfy the selfishness of some individuals. He advised Jae-wook not to be taken advantage of by them. But he asked him again what he was doing now. Wasn't it because he wanted to take revenge on a personal grudge? The truth has many sides. It is important which direction you look at it from. Jae-wook vowed to catch Bok Lip far away, but the other party said, "Sorry, it's all over. My plan is about to come true." At the same time, the bomb that Jae-wook discovered also ended the countdown. Although there was no explosion as she had imagined, a river had spread. All electronic devices are disabled. As soon as Jae-wook walked out of the building, he saw a distant man passing in front of her, and he comfortably got into the car and left. It was difficult for her to leave the area affected by the explosion. She immediately asked her colleagues to follow the movements of the Far Lip department's car. Moreover, her colleagues also discovered that the place where the explosion just occurred was the largest data bank in the country. But last year, after the construction of the new building, this place only saved the data that was copied. Jae-wook immediately contacted Jae-wook following the current direction of the Far Lip. It is very likely that his purpose is to bank data. At this time, the distant man had taken people to the bank. A huge EMP bomb was also transported here. They stormed into the building and the whole bank was immediately in danger. By the time Jae-wook arrived, the whole building was cordoned off. At this time, Bok Lip XA conducted live streaming on the entire internet system. He asked the government to make a choice. One is to save the 33 people he captured. The second is to save the data bank. He only gave the government 3 hours of support to think. After speaking, he immediately executed several people. Very quickly, this caused a wave of public opinion on the internet. Most people hope the government rescues the hostages. There are still people who listen to poetry and think that all databanks are erased. That way, they wouldn't need to pay it back for a few more months. The minister also considers the phone to the decision of the superior as a priority for data protection. We must follow orders. Director Jiang was the first to object. But the deputy mayor told him that everyone should take the big picture seriously. If the data bank is lost, countless people and businesses are in danger. By then, the number of people sacrificed would be several hundred times more than the number of hostages. In order to be able to get the blood tribe into the building, Director Jiang and the family came to advise help. Very quickly, the door was opened and the two of them also succeeded in getting inside. After defeating one of the guards, they also managed to find the bomb. But after observing the era, Gigi discovered that this was just an empty shell. Tri Blood finally understood. In addition, Baekmosa's original goal was to kill the hostages. Han is convinced that the government will not choose to save the hostages. But when people found out that the government sacrificed the lives of hostages because of a fake bomb, make people no longer trust the government. Everyone must be notified immediately. Gigi wanted to spread the news, but there was no airwaves in it. Baekmosa also saw the two in the camera. After that, the two of them went up to the upper house and they used a flashlight to transmit the Morse code. Tell everyone that the bomb is fake. The bomb is just an empty shell. But the minister still did not agree to choose to save the hostages. Because once the intelligence is wrong, the whole country will be in danger. But in the end, the deputy governor still ordered the hostage protection. At this time, their time is running out. How did they find the hostages in a building as big as this? Gigi, isn't there a way to keep Baekmosa from appearing? They came to the room to announce the music and played the loudspeakers. Apparently, the situation of the hostages is being broadcast live online. So Gigi played music on different floors. When the music was played in the C-section of the third floor, it was very clear that the hostages had reacted. Baekmosa also heard music. In his mind, fragments of memories kept appearing. Because this was a song he had often listened to with his teeth before. Baekmosa held a gun in frustration and shot the loudspeaker down. At this time, the Triwick also began to take action. After solving all the cases of the brothers, he discovered that the door to the hostage room was locked. Then the sound of Baekmosa came. He told the Triwick not to fight the old in vain. Except for the hostage in which he had already planted the bomb, the control was in his hands. So if you want to save people, go to the rooftop to meet him. At the same time, the minister personally went to the command room. He shot the deputy chief who did not obey the order. At the same time, he began to personally command. Very quickly the Bekmosa went to the rooftop. He lifted the remote control in his hand. After seeing the control, the deputy chief immediately ordered not to take any action. Otherwise, everything will be ruined. Very soon Triwick also appeared here. Bekmosa ordered him to lay down his weapon. But he remembered the gun and fired. It turned out that Bekmosa was hearing the junior's denial. Bekmosa said the two of them were very similar. Have experienced similar things. So maybe Triwick could understand him. But Triwick said, we are not the same. Even if we all kill our comrades. I admit my mistakes, accept reality. And he blames external causes. Now no one can stop me anymore. Surely he would not press that button. Bekmosa smiled wryly. Triwick turned his head to look at the screen on the side. Immediately afterwards they saw JG suddenly appear in the other group. Bekmosa was extremely surprised. It turned out that this was their original plan. Senior, I have a new idea. JG deliberately pretended to be a bank employee so that they could arrest him. After being locked in her room, she secretly sends out a mask to awaken Bekmosa's memories. There is also the figure of my father on the Bekmosa, even if only a little. But I was sure that a little bit of his father's figure would protect me. Seeing JG, suddenly Bekmosa came to be excited. In his mind, there were memories that kept popping up. Triwick also took the opportunity to knock down Bekmosa. So the enemy still intends to take the remote control. The Triwick shoots the injured enemy. But then Bekmosa told him that the bomb detonator had started a long time ago. And the control in his hands was the work of pausing the explosion. Only the button kernel on the explosion control stops. Press it, hurry up. Triwick entered a pre-recession dilemma. Because every time something goes wrong, a few dozen of them will die. At the same time, the minister saw that the Triwick was holding the remote control and he was extremely agitated. Hurry up and inform the snipers, hurry up. No, are you resisting orders? This is the order shooting. Triwick slowly raised the control and his hand echoed JG's words. There was also my father's skin on the Bekmosa. I was sure that a little bit of his father's tears would protect me. Sure enough, Bekmosa did not lie. And in the end, the police succeeded in rescuing the hostage. The time for the bomb to explode was only the last 2 seconds. At this point, Triwick slowly stood up, but he did not kill Bekmosa but turned to leave. After that, JG also went to the rooftop. Why are you bleeding so much? I'm fine. She quickly went up to see her father. She looked at her father who was dying in pain and crying. At the same time, Triwick sat down in front of the camera who was live streaming. He tells everyone everything he has been through. Also reveals the existence of Samaho, telling all their crimes. Sutrong also contacted the reporter to come up with a list of Samaho. After he finished speaking, everything Triwick fainted. 5 years later, JG has matured. The head of the HA team has also become the head of the department. Director Jiang confessed to being thrown into prison. Triwick also suffered 5 years in prison for manslaughtering his comrades. Triwick had just been released and returned to that lonely house. But when he saw the strong picture of the person who sent it back, he still felt a little warm in his heart. He drove to the flower shop. Then a bouquet of fresh flowers appeared where the collector was harmed. Before finally calling Triwick's number after hesitating for a long time, the two of them were silent and didn't say anything but walked past each other at a crossroads. Triwick turned his head to look and a smile appeared on his face. In the evening, Triwick received a phone call and the other party talked to him for a long time. Immediately afterwards, Triwick put on a suit and returned to the organization. Because except for the Samaho, they also had to face a new enemy.